So we're on the road, and not for a parts hunt, unfortunately. Weather hasn't been too great, and I've been working a ton of overtime. It's actually my dad's birthday. It's coming up pretty soon, and he loves the flight sim, and I've been wanting to upgrade him, and that card has just been sitting and not being used the way it should. And I probably use it like maybe once a month or when I travel, but he would get more use out of it than I will, and I'm deciding to go a different route with my RTX build. So if you're not familiar, I have an RTX build, and that's the one that I built because my wife kicked me out. Yeah, she kicked me out the living room, primarily because I was gaming too much on it and hogging the TV, so I just went ahead and built one. And it's actually been a really cool computer, but like I said, the 3080 that I put into it, just not getting used properly. He's running a 2070. 3080 would be a nice upgrade for him, and I think I'm gonna end up switching him from an i5 10th gen to an i7 10th gen, mostly because the new flight simulator is coming out. That's his thing, and I want to make sure that he's ready. So when I started the initial video, I was actually comparing the 3080 to the graphics cards that I'm going to be changing in my RTX build, and you'll see that later on in the video. And the results were just off. Let's just say the graphics card that I was putting out, the graphics card that I was changing out my 3080 for, was actually doing better, which was weird, and I didn't really think too much of it. And I finished the video, finished editing it, and then I just got curious, mostly because I'm like, my dad's gonna have this 3080. Is this card really gonna be decent for him? So I went back, and before I was gonna give him that graphics card, which I'm glad I did, I ran some more tests, and my thermals were horrible. 100 degrees Celsius on the hot spots, 90 degrees Celsius on the core, and yeah, that's where I was losing all the performance. And then when I took a look at it, yeah, the graphics card was pretty much saving itself by downclocking itself, and that's why my 3080 was not performing as well as it should. So I'm glad I caught that. I sent it off to Silver Knight PC, so I'm gonna head over there, pick up the 3080, retest this compared to the other graphics card, and hopefully this should be a good graphics card for my dad. So I'm gonna run into Sheets, grab myself something quick to eat, and then to the Silver Knights. All right, we're here. Let's run inside real quick. Let's grab it. All right, so we got the card, and I will say this, folks, this was not cheap. Although it was not cheap, I think it was worth it. So I don't have anything into this card. In fact, now that I think about it, I think I traded for it. So even the repair cost, and I'll just be transparent, $190 is what they charged me to get this thing done. That's fresh thermal pads, that's testing it, thermal paste. And if you're familiar with these cards, then one thing you'll know is that they are not easy. Well, they're not convenient or easy. Yeah, I guess I'll go with easy. They're annoying to take apart. I did one time, and it was a nightmare. I probably spent like several hours doing it. Very meticulous. And then even when I put it together, one of the connectors didn't go in right, so I had to retake it apart again. I do not like redoing these Founders Edition cards. If it was like an MSI, Zotac, or anything like that, like my Zotac 3090 Ti, I did it in probably like 30 minutes, and I was done. Yeah, not so much with this. $190, it's worth it. These guys are professional. They are good at what they do, and this is going to be a gift for my dad, so I want to make sure that this card is running 100%, because if it's not running 100% and I put this in his computer, he will like annoy me and drive me crazy for the rest of my life, and even haunt me. So I want to make sure he has a good card. So I'm going to head back to the garage. I'm going to pop this on the test bench, make sure this is good, and then I'll pop in the other graphics cards that I'm going to be switching to on the test bench, and then I could actually feel a lot better with the results between the two graphics cards, and we'll talk about that graphics card in a bit and see what I'm losing, what I'm gaining, but more than likely what I'm losing. So let's hit the I-95, head back south, and get to it. And we're back. All right, let's open it up. It's kind of cool. They put this little tape to, you know, make sure I don't drop it. Here she is, new as can be. All right, legit. Let's pop her in the bench. I'm gonna need some juice. So let's go with you. fire it up. Oh yeah, gotta do that. Always forget. Always forget. Now let's fire it up. Helps if I plug it in. Take 3. Let's fire it up. There we go. She lives. I mean, to be expected. Not that I questioned anything, but still. So let's run some Heaven benchmark, see what the temps are there. Put some games on it, get a baseline of how well this thing performs, and then I'll show you exactly what I'm changing to next. So let's take a baseline of what it is just at idle. So GPU on idle, 37 degrees Celsius, perfect. Hotspot, 47.4, perfect. Memory, 44 degrees. That is awesome. It was a lot higher before on idle, so that's an improvement. Let's minimize this, minimize that, run the Heaven benchmark. Let's give it a good 20-minute shakedown, and let's see where we're at. 20 minutes of runtime, and we got pretty good improvements. So our temperatures for the GPU, 77 degrees Celsius. If I still have the pictures, I'll post them on the screen. But prior, we were hitting 90. So that's 13 degrees. That's nice. Hotspot, 90.2 degrees Celsius. We were hitting 100. And I think there was one time where it hit like 102. So 10-degree difference on the hotspot, 13 degrees difference on the GPU. Very happy with that. And the other thing to show, let's see if I can zoom it in here. Our clocks, steady. Steady, 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 which is perfect. Now before, and I didn't realize it until I went back and tested it, we were dropping to 1800s and even 1600s. So we were getting some serious frame drops because this thing was pretty much melting and nuclearing itself alive. Awesome. So now let's switch to some games. So for our first game, the Star Wars, and I can tell you right now, significantly better improvement compared to what it was before. So before, just kind of running around over here, I was just sitting in the 50 frames per second area, and this looks so much better. It had a lot of stutters, and the GPU temperatures were just maxing out at 90, and then I believe that's where you have the thermal throttling issue, and yeah, I was definitely not enjoying my experience with it. So we're averaging, I would say, we got dips to the 50s, but before I was dipping to the 30s and 40s. So almost double the improvement on it, and no stutters. Very happy with that. Let's see if I can go down and hang out with this dude without, you know, eliminating myself. Come on, buddy, let's come play. Whoa. And this is so much harder to play because I'm using a keyboard. More of an Xbox controller guy. Enjoy it more. Just, you know, the way I feel. Yeah, this fight feels so much better. Before, it would just stutter and he would average me, 30 to 40 frames per second. So, pretty cool. Temperatures, awesome. Not in the 90s. Nice. So, let's go ahead. Let's try another game. So, The Last of Us. Temperatures look great. 63 degrees Celsius. Like I said before, we were hitting 90 degrees and we were having some severe thermal throttling. All our stuff was just downclocking as itself, as this thing was just eating itself alive just because of the intense heat. And we're averaging about 65 to 70 frames per second. The game looks good. There's no stutters. Huge improvement. Very happy with it. And now when we pop in the other card, we could give it a fair shake and see how much performance I'm losing or gaining. I know you're probably saying, what card are you going to use? I'm going to show you in just a sec. But let's just run some scenes. Probably get myself demolished by these guys because, well, like I said, I'm using my keyboard, and my keyboard is horrible to use. Yeah. But anywho's, let's show you what we're going to next. So before I move on to the other card, I forgot to mention this. So this is an i7 9700K, 16 gigs of DDR4, a 1 terabyte M.2. I think it's a Crucial flavor, not 100% sure. But if you notice something about the performance, they seem a little lower than what they should. And I believe the reason for that is just because this CPU is holding back that graphics card. Now, the computer that it's going to be going into is going to be an i7 10th gen, which is going to be a little bit better than this. So be able to get more performance out of it. But if you ever run your graphics card and you're noticing that the performance is not as good and your CPU combo is a little bit old, it will hold back your graphics card. But anyways, Moving on to this one. This is the RTX build that I talked about earlier in the video. I've had this thing for several years. It's been fantastic. It's a Ryzen 7 5700, 32 gigs of DDR4 if I'm not mistaken. It's an Asus, I want to say it's the X570 ITX flavor, and this has been a fantastic computer. But it's a little too big, and we're going to go a different route with it, and you'll see that in the next coming video. But what inspired me to go the different change was, number one, Pops needs a newer graphics card. That 3080 was just sitting around, not being utilized as it should. And I found this on the Facebook Marketplace, folks, for $120. So this is the Gigabyte. It's the RTX 4060 flavor, low profile, and we're going from 10 gigs of VRAM, a beast of a card, to 8 gigs and a little Mickey Mouse card. Yeah, I know. But hear me out on this. I do 1080p gaming at most. I don't game a ton on that computer because my main rig, you know, that's where I do it. And when I'm on the road, I typically bring a small 1080p LED monitor. If you're curious about that, I'll post a link to the video where I show how I travel with my computer with it. Mostly when I bring my computer is when I have a lot of downtime and I just want to kind of chill, get caught up on some video editing, or the weather is bad and we're stuck in the, well, typically we stay at people's houses. But anyways, that's when I bring that. Probably like gaming in the bedroom, maybe once or twice a month. Mostly when the in-laws are in town, I disappear and I just lock myself in the bedroom and game. So when the in-laws are in, it'll get a lot of use. So now let's open this up. Take a look at it. And here we go. So I paid $120 for this, and that was the whole reason that I'm going this direction. Number one, I want a smaller computer, and you'll see the case and the whole build video on that. But for $120, these things are going for $300, and this was $120. Got on the Facebook Marketplace, looking for parts, and this popped up. It had been up there for about 3 weeks. The guy wanted $150. I offered $120. He was like, yeah, come get it. So now let's pop it in the rig, and let's see what this thing does or does not. This little itty bitty guy. Now I do have the full height backplate for it. That did come with it. I mean, this thing came pretty much brand new. He said he bought it for a computer that he was doing, and then he realized this was not enough performance for what he wanted. So, okay. Guess he just tried to recoup. Maybe he was outside the return. Don't know. But either way, for $120 for this, not too bad. So now this thing uses a single 4-pin. Pop in some HDMI action, flick the switch, because I'm actually going to remember this time. Fire up. All right, so let's run some Heaven benchmark. Make sure this thing is working 100%, which I'm guaranteed it is, which I hope so, because I actually bought this thing like a month ago. Yeah. I need to do better with testing and stuff after I buy it. Card is running. Temperatures look good. I mean, it's a 4060. How much power can it have? 73 degrees Celsius, 84 on the hotspot. Very happy with that. So this thing's been running for about 20 minutes. 100% confident that there's nothing wrong with it. So let's switch to the games and let's see the comparison. Back on the Star Wars, and well, it's actually running pretty good. I'm gonna have to look at the video footage before. I kind of think this is running a little bit better, which is weird. We're gonna go find that big monster. Nope, he's not here. Where you at, buddy? There he is. Let's see if we could say hi to him. All right. Very interesting. I think this is running better, because before we were just hitting sometimes 50 frames per second, 53. That's interesting. And what's interesting about that is because the 3080 is supposed to be better. Not sure. I really don't think I'm gonna take too much of a performance hit going to this card. So with that being said, let's hit up The Last of Us. And here we go, The Last of Us. Let's see. I'll be honest with you folks, it's running just like it did with the other card, the 3080. Kind of weird, but I mean, if it works, it works. So 1080p, all high settings, temperatures look great. No stuttering, nice and smooth. Let's see if we could kind of, teach this guy a lesson. Nope, they're teaching me a lesson. This ain't good. So I looked at the footage for the Star Wars game and pretty much almost identical. I think this one had a little more consistent frames, and even playing this one, looking at the footage, it's identical. Very interesting. I figured the 3080 would be significantly better, maybe at least 20 to 30%, but I mean, I really don't notice any difference. Now, the difference I did notice was when the 3080 was overheating and my frames were dropping to like 30, 40 frames per second, stuttering, and I even had some crashes when I looked at that footage. So considering the 3080 is back up 100%, this 4060 was pretty cheap. I'm not noticing any performance gains or differences. This checks the boxes. Boxes are good, and this is going to be on my new RTX rig. So let's wrap this up and give you my thoughts. So let's talk about this 3080 first. Now, $190 to get it fixed is steep, but definitely worth it. Number one, if you're familiar with these Founders Edition 3080s, there's like a million screws. It's a pain in the butt to take apart, and definitely not an ideal experience. Now, I got that card pretty much for free. I think I pretty much got it free. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it was a trade-in. For the most part, it was free. To get a card that's in perfect working condition, you're looking about $300 to $400. Considering I'm into this for nothing, $190, that works. Now, another thing to consider with, if you have a card like a 980, a card that's not really worth much, definitely don't consider spending that type of money unless you really love that card. But now, if you have a high-end card like 3090, 40 series or whatever, it's definitely worth it, because not only does Silver Knights go in and redo the thermal paste and thermal pads, they kind of fix some of the factory defects. Now, if you're familiar with these 3080s, there's issues with the thermal paste and the thermal putties, and as we've seen in a lot of different videos, upgrading that alone fixes the hot spots along with better temps, which that's what happened here, and this thing is performing fantastic. So I'm very happy with it. They did a fantastic job. Definitely worth the money. And if you have a graphics card that you need service that you don't want to dive into, reach out to them. I definitely highly recommend them. A+ service, and I'm glad because Pops is really going to enjoy this. So the 4060 runs pretty good. I'm very happy in the sense that for 1080p is where I'm sticking at. I'm not losing any performance. I'm not really gaining any performance. I'm happy with that. Typically when you change your hardware, you want to upgrade. This works. We're kind of staying steady where it's at. This 3080 ain't no slouch, and I'm glad it's a lot better. Pops is going to be happy with it. Good birthday gift for him, and paired with an i7-10700, I think they should get the job done. He's big into the flight sim, and next month the new one is coming out, so I know he's going to be happy with it. And like I talked about earlier, the main reason that I am going with this low profile one is because we're going to go with a smaller footprint. This is the Fractal Node 202. I love this case. I've had it for a while, but it's a little big, it's bulky, it's heavy, and the next makes it easier for travel, and also kind of tucks away and hides better in the bedroom. So stay tuned for that. That'll be awesome. And if you guys don't mind, wish Pops a happy birthday down in the comments. He'd greatly appreciate it. And one final note, I want to say thank you to Silver Knights PC for fixing my graphics card. I paid for that out of my pocket, not sponsored, by no means. Fantastic work, and if you need computer stuff or anything computer related, I'll post a link to their website. I'm a firm believer in supporting small business, and the owner, fantastic dude. So comment down below, let me know your thoughts, concerns, criticisms. 4060 versus the 3080. Is it a bad decision? Should I keep the bigger footprint? Or for what I'm using, is it perfect? And for those of you guys that have the Founders Editions of these, would you send it out or just get it done yourself? If you like this video, definitely hit the like button. Subscribe if you're not. And as always, we'll see what we come up with next.